Hi everyone, today I want to talk about a quite important but maybe also quite overlooked part of Diablo 4, which is Blacksmith upgrades or jeweler upgrades. So you might have seen this in the server slime or in the beta when you played. You can upgrade your items as a blacksmith, and those upgrades can be very powerful under certain circumstances. So baseline, what an upgrade does is it gives the item +5 item power, which increases its base stats just the normal way that it usually does. For example, on a glove, each 2 item power give you +1 armor. So you can see this here. This is similar on the pants, on the weapons, etc. All of these have either like an armor value or a DPS value, for example for the weapons, where it just scales directly with the item power itself. But there's also another thing happening, which is that each of these affixes also increases, and by a quite significant margin. Every time you upgrade the item, you get 10% of the base stat value extra. So you can see this here. I mean, okay, you have ranks to rapid fire and ranks to barrage. Those cannot be increased by 10%, just like that. But there's attack speed, for example, and you see it's 2.8 with a range of 1.6 to 3.3. And this is already with one upgrade. So the base item here has, I believe, 1.5 to 3.0. And then the attack speed value that it rolled before that was, I think, 2.5. And now it's 2.8 from the previous upgrade. But now comes the real kicker, and that is that there are item power breakpoints. So at 340, almost all of the stats that can roll on gear actually reach the next tier breakpoint. And if an item rolls with a certain item power, each stat that is on the item will be in that tier. This is not like in other RPGs where you can find an item and then it can roll a range of, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 or something like that on each of the stats, depending on what item level it has. In Diablo 4, the tier is always determined by the item power. So you will always go to the next tier at a certain blacksmith upgrade, and you're going to see this in action here. If you go to the next upgrade, which is 340 leading to the next breakpoint, you can see that suddenly we have +1 rank on barrage, we have +1 rank on rapid fire, because they can roll 1 to 2 now at 340 item power. So this is obviously a very significant upgrade for just +5 item power. You can potentially take a pretty useless glove here and suddenly make it a lot better. +1 ranks to your main skill can be very impactful. But you also see some other curious thing happening here, which is the attack speed actually got a minus. It's minus 0.4%. But you can see also that the ranges have changed significantly here. So if you look again, we have 1.6 to 3.3% attack speed. And we have a near perfect roll. It's like 80% perfect or so here. And if you go to this next picture, we have 2.4 to 5.4, and we have a 2.4% attack speed roll. It's a minimum roll. So what actually happens at those tier breakpoints when you upgrade through them is that all of the stats actually get rerolled. So similarly, we actually got a bit lucky with the extra ranks here. They both rolled the maximum value, but the attack speed was not so lucky. So what this means is that sometimes you'll actually see those minus numbers. To me, it doesn't really make much sense that the game works that way, but this is what it does. The game does not remember the level of perfection of a roll. It just rolls it again whenever there is a tier jump. But one thing that the game curiously does remember is which values you would roll if you would upgrade your item. So I tried various things to try to game the system or exploit it in some way, and there's basically no way, it seems to me, to make the game not roll exactly the previewed stats. I tried rendering it, I tried trading it, I tried upgrading other items, I tried having someone else trying to upgrade it, and it always remembers the stats that the item will roll on the next upgrade. So this is definitely pretty weird, but this is how it works. I'm going to give you another example. So I have this two-handed scythe here. This has 337 item power, so it's exactly one upgrade away from the next tier jump. And as I said earlier, each blacksmith upgrade is plus 10% on the stats, so that includes the inherent affix like the life on kill, and then all of the stats, minus the legendary power. But since this is a tier jump, again, all of the stats will reroll, and you can see this here. So you see that even though we actually... And if you look at those stats again, we have like 4% lucky hit here. This is 3 to 6, so it's like a kind of low roll. Then we have the basic skill damage here. This is 13 to 28. It's kind of like medium. And then we have intelligence, which is like, very close to the maximum. Now, if you go to the upgrade, first of all, you see this massive jump in the inherent affix, the life on kill, because it's the next tier of the stat and doesn't have a range. So it will just directly upgrade to that value, which is 20. And then we have the others that also increase in their ranges. So this was 3 to 6, which is now 4 to 9. And you see that the jump was actually quite minor because we got unlucky with the roll, because it re-rolled the stat from the tier jump. And yeah, we didn't really get anything good. And also the basic skill damage here did not really get much of an upgrade. Again, if you look at this, it was some kind of like middle, like a bit more than half perfection, I guess. And here it's like near the minimum. So again, we got very unlucky on this roll. But similarly, you can also get extremely lucky and roll everything perfect. So this could be suddenly, instead of 22 basic skill damage, this could actually roll 38% just from this one upgrade. Now there's another curious thing here, which is that the main stats, the intelligence, actually do not jump at the same tier. So this is like one of those exceptions. This is something to be aware of. I think they always jump 10 item power later, so I think this would be 350, but I'm not 100% sure about this. And there's also certain other flat values, for example, thorns, maximum life. I think those actually increase every 10 item power because they kind of like, slowly scale up as you go compared to the percent values that have these tier jumps. So here are some more examples of these stat breakpoints in action. So you see here again, there's also 334 plus 5. Then we go over the breakpoint at 340 and a similar thing here with the gloves. And you see these massive jumps in some of those stats. For example, the fire gets plus 10.5%. The maximum life gets plus 25. It's almost double of the previous value. Same here if you compare to the previous upgrade. And here in the gloves, you also see that, for example, the attack speed more than doubles. It's plus 2.8% from the previous 2.2% with the upgrade here. And also the overpower basically doubles with 10.8% from 9. And you see that this is because these ranges increase massively for some of these stats. Overpower generally goes from 6.0 to 13.5. And then here the new range is 9.9, so it's probably baseline 9. And then 19.8, so this is probably 18. So this is like the new range baseline, plus 10%. So it rolls a perfect value, and there you go, plus 10.8%. So the TLDR is that breakpoints matter a lot in this game. And when you are progressing through the campaign or, in higher levels even, there will be those breakpoints, and remembering those item power breakpoints is going to be crucial to optimizing your gear, because you will see those opportunities to potentially make a pretty worthless item significantly better. Like the example of the gloves I showed earlier, where you get +1 on all of the skills. And if you're curious, these are some data mined values that I found here, and this does seem to correspond exactly to reality. So these are the numbers to kind of keep in mind for these tier jumps. So there are these early game items up to like level 10, level 15 or so, with 150 item power or 149. And then you have this tier that basically most of us played with in the open beta and the server slam. It's the 150 to 339. But it was possible to get those high level items back in the open beta and also in server slam with this Cordogan farm, for example, or this level 35 elite that a lot of people were doing. So this is where those items are coming from. And basically starting at like level 25, level 30 or so, you're going to find items in that range here or close to it. And then later on, the item power improves more and more and more. And then we know that like the end game items, they're going to be somewhere at around like 800 or so. There's going to be like this last tier. But yeah, every time you have these tier jumps here, and you have an item that is pretty close to it, maybe like 1 or 2 or 3 blacksmith upgrades away, you can get potentially those massive jumps in your stats. So as a last step for this video, blacksmith upgrades are very important, but you also don't want to waste your materials. So when you are progressing through the early levels, like 1 to 10, 1 to 20, 1 to 30, most of the time your gear doesn't matter all too much. You just kind of need to like pick up a good weapon and you're good to go, kind of. So you can always try to keep your weapon upgraded the most, because it increases its base DPS value, and usually the weapon also brings most of the offensive stats besides the gloves. So those are just very important slots. But keep an eye out for those breakpoints, and whenever you have extra materials, you can definitely do at least 1 or 2 blacksmith upgrades or jeweler upgrades on all of your pieces later on, once you don't replace them like every 5 minutes anymore. And then you can kind of like keep going with them, and potentially as you go higher and as you keep your items around for longer, you'll do the 3rd upgrade, you'll do the 4th upgrade, and so on. And that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. I wish everyone good luck when the game launches, and see you guys next time.